Okay, so we're gonna do a couple things to the car. We're gonna do a clutch. We're gonna do an oil pump. I already got ahead of the oil pump, started doing it because it was nighttime and I didn't really have a flashlight to record with or a GoPro to record with. So we're gonna start with the transmission. First thing you want to do is take out the battery. After you get the battery out, you want to start unplugging stuff. So you want to come down here by the starter. There's a bolt. You want to take the power one. It's either a 10 or a 12. It looks like a 12. You want to undo that. To take the transmission also, you want to get this ground off. That's also a 10. You want to unplug the sensor from the transmission. You also want to unplug back here. There's this right here. Probably see it or not, but it's down there. That's your speedometer sensor cable thing. You unplug that, and I think that should be it for cables. And up here, oh, you also need to remove the starter. The starter's held in by two 14-inch millimeter bolts. There's one on top and one at the bottom. When I get it off, I'll show you guys what it looks like, and then we'll start taking off the bolts that go around the transmission casing. There should be 17. And then when I'm done taking the starter off and that ground cable off, I'll come back and show you guys more. Okay, so we got the starter off. Just one thing to remember, when you take it off, it's gonna look like this. I forgot to tell you guys, there's the signal wire that tells it to start. Yeah, it's just a little plug. You take it out, it's a female connector. And then there's the 14, so one on the bottom, one on top. And just remember, the short one goes on the top, and the bottom one, the top one, hold on you guys. The short one goes on top, the long one goes at the bottom. But you can't put these back in because one of these, I think the long one, holds the transmission to the block. So you have to remove it to be able to take the transmission out. So I'm gonna put this somewhere safe. And then, so now you gotta loosen up just a couple of these. I already started, but they're 17s. There's one over here by the exhaust. I don't know why, but it's not there on mine. And then there's one here. There's one there. You guys probably won't be able to see it, or maybe one here. And there's two on the T-bracket, which is this. So you have to go under the car on the back side to remove that. And I think there's one more at the bottom to remove those. And then, oh, you also have to remove your axles. So these are your axles. To remove those, you have to take your wheel off. I recommend breaking these off when it's on the ground, if you can. If not, just take your wheel off, have somebody press on the brake, break it off. The size usually for the regular Hondas is a 32. You just get a 32, break it off. And to remove all that, you need to take the 17 millimeter bolt, take that off so the fork will come loose. You also got to take another one off. Actually, sorry, I messed up. The bottom one's a 17, this one should be a 15. After that, you got to take the bottom control arm, take that off. I think it's a 15 also, as a cotter pin, so remember to take that off. After that, you'll be able to lift the suspension off, pop the axle out from the spindle, and then pop it off from the transmission, and then you should be ready to go. I'll show you guys how to do that in a sec. So to make this easier, I recommend taking your distributor out. Remember, you always want to mark it exactly where it was. So what I did is I put a marker on, it started rubbing off. So I just scratched a line on it, and then it should stay fine. You also want to make sure you remember which one goes to which one. You can also number them, like this one goes there and all that. So we'll take those off. I got new ones, by the way, so I really don't care what happens to those. We'll take this off. I think it's a 12, and I think you're gonna have to use a wrench on it. It's 12. Yep, it's a 12. So you're gonna have to use a wrench on it just because it's kind of hard for a socket to get in there. And after that, put that somewhere safe where it doesn't break. We'll get under the car and I'll show you guys where the other bolts are to take the transmission off. Also, we'll need to take this transmission mount off. I'll show you guys that. And the torque mount, which is this one right here. So I'll show you how to take that one, and the ones in the back off. Okay, to remove the axle, you have to remove this ball joint. And I know mine's kind of far gone, but you need to take off a 17mm nut. You can also do the one at the bottom, but I'm having troubles taking it off, so I just took the top one off. Then you remove this 15 right here. That's for your fork, your suspension. And then there's a 17 that goes right here. Take that off. And then this is the driver's side, so it's a little harder to remove. I'm gonna show you guys right there where it connects to like the half shaft. I always forget what this is called, but this is just like an extension from the transmission to here to the hub. So to remove that, it's 314. Let's see. Light up there. If I can get it to stay. Okay. So right there, it's 114. Here's another 14. And there's another 14. You remove those three, this will become loose. And then you can pry it off right there where it connects to the transmission, and that should all come out easier if you can't get your bottom bolt joint removed. So let me do that real quick. Okay, now that you have removed your axle, you need to remove your oil pan, some bolts. It's gonna be some 10mm to get the dust shield off, so you can get to these bolts right here. Those are also 17s. Maybe one there and one there. You get those off. Then you need to get these two bolts right here off. Those connect to your transmission, and there's also one right there that connects to the block. After you get those done, your transmission should be loose. All you need to do is, man, I should really figure out this light. Right here is your shift linkage. That's a 10. You get that off. And down here, where a lot of people struggle. Let's see, hold on. Here. Oh. You guys see that? You guys went flying. Down here, right here is a pin. They call you this the bitch pin because it's a bitch to get out. So you have to get a punch it out from here and make it pop out all the way. So this could slide out. So that should be what holds in your transmission. Oh, and the other axle, but I'll remove that in a sec. Alright, come here. Come here, camera lady. Okay, so start removing the transmission. You need to remove the torque mount. I need a new torque engine mount thingy. So you need to remove 3 17s that go in the front of your transmission. One thing I forgot to let you guys know is you also have to remove your slave cylinder, and that's 2 12s right here, and then 2 10s that hold this bracket in. Just be careful not to bend this line. You can bend this one because it's a rubber. So you take those off, and then you also need to remove these 3. It's this one, and this one. Those are 17s. you'll remove those, and you also remove the bolts that I showed you. One here, one here, one here, the one for your starter, and then the ones in the back, which we have already removed. So you also want to get a tranny jack to hold up your transmission. You would also want to get another one to hold your motor. I'm kind of risking it right now since all my motor mounts are shot. I'm gonna replace them, but I just have the transmission up right now, so you just want to take these off. And these aren't loose because I've worked on it before, because I haven't. These are loose because I broke them up. I broke them up already. You remove those, and then these I'm gonna remove. Okay, I'll be right back because I gotta break it up with the breaker bar. Okay guys, so we got the transmission out. It was not easy by myself, but watch. So come down here, come on, camera lady. So I've been hearing some grinding noise in my when I would be in gear, and I didn't know if it was my transmission or my throwout bearing. So I went to good old AutoZone for 100 and I think like 80 bucks. Got me a new OE clutch. I mean, it's OEM pretty much, kinda. And this is the part number NU31252-1. That's for a B18 B1. So since I got the clutch, I actually went in there just to get throwout bearing, but I was like, screw it, might as well get a new clutch. And then the lady told me that it came with the new throwout bearing. So let's take this off. Get a little close. We gotta teach people. You want to push the fork out, push it out. Now this slides out, so you just want to pull on it and it will slide out, and this will pop out too. It's just held in by a little clip. It's just this little clip. It goes in there and it holds on. So I'm taking it all off so I can actually clean it, but y'all probably can't hear it, but this bearing is all loose, like you guys, I don't know. And then this one, so this one's good, this one's caca. So what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna spray some engine degreaser in there and on the sides and everywhere. I'm gonna try and make this pretty. We're gonna spray it with engine degreaser, let it sit for maybe 10-15 minutes, whatever the bottle says. We'll hit it with some engine cleaner, and then we'll put the new stuff on, and then I'll show you guys how to do the clutch. We're also going to take that off in a few. Okay guys, I'm trying to work on all the stuff I can since the rain is still running pretty hard. So what you need to do when you're done with your clutch is you need to reinstall this. So you'll see there's a little lip on it. So that little lip will go into here, and these little ear things will fall into that hole right there, and then there's one on the other side. So all you gotta do is kind of squeeze it and put it in there. Hold on, let me do this real quick and I'll show you guys. So when you're done, all you gotta do is reinstall it, stick it back in the hole where it was, and then that ball right there, this ball right here, remember to grease it up. So I've greased it up already, and all you gotta do is, there's a little like nipple thing, you just pretty much line it up and you push it on and it will click on. And when you have that on, you can slide your throwout bearing, and I'll show you guys that in a sec. Okay, after you fought with it, it should be working just fine. And that, now we should install the clutch, which this rain doesn't seem to want to stop, so let me get to it. Okay guys, so we got the old clutch out. So here's the old clutch. It looks still pretty good though, so I'm gonna save it for just in case we have an emergency one day and my clutch goes out. I'll save it. To remove it, it requires you to remove some 10mm 12 point. So these are it. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of them you have to remove. They're not on there that tight, so you can just hold the flywheel and just kind of hold it and snap them off. Unless you have an impact, then it's pretty easy. I don't have a flywheel, impact. I'm actually using a regular ratchet, and it's Milwaukee. Milwaukee really does help though. So I also have this the bearing that goes between the flywheel and the clutch and all that. This one is kind of loose, and I can feel it. It's kind of like bumpy. It doesn't feel like a new bearing. So I do not have a wheel bearing. I don't have a wheel bearing, not wheel bearing, why am I saying wheel bearing? I don't have a bearing removal kit. I'm gonna try this thing that I saw on YouTube where you put a lot of bread and you pack it in there and hit it with a extension from a ratchet, and with all the pressure that's building in there, it will pop out. And I'll show you guys how to do that in a sec when my brother comes back with some bread to pop it out. Okay guys, so we tried the bread in there, didn't work. Went to AutoZone, no, O'Reilly's, rented out a tool to pull the bearing out. That didn't seem to work because the bearing was too small. So I was being lazy, didn't want to pull the flywheel off. But what you're gonna need is depends on what size ratchet you have or impact gun. I have a 3/8 ratchet, and it's a 17, but you gotta remember it has to be a 12 point because those are all 12 points. You take that out, you hammer it from the back side, it'll pop out, and then you hammer it in with the new one. So just started raining, so I'm not record too much, but I'm gonna record the most important parts, and then I'll come back to show you guys what to do. Okay, so we got it out. So just a quick tip, this does help if you don't have a buddy or somebody helping you or an impact to get these let's see, 8 flywheel bolts. Find yourself like a flathead. I have this punch where the bolts go for your clutch pressure plate. Just stick this in and make sure it's kind of long enough. And when you try to spin it, it will spin, but as soon as it hits the bottom of the block, it will stop it from continuing to spin, and you should get some leverage. So right now, all we gotta do is find a socket that'll fit right there, and hammer that out. And when we hammer that out, we can get it out. So one thing I found out that I should have done a little bit more research, and I'm kind of dumb. You have to take the flywheel off, because you can't pull it out. I don't know if you guys can see, there's a little lip right there. So what you gotta do is actually take it out, flip it towards where the clutch contacts, and I recommend getting a 13/16 socket. And for that reason is you want it to cover as much as you can to hammer it out. And you can probably hear it. This bearing is gone, and this bearing, probably can't hear it because it's so quiet. So what we need to do is make sure the surface is clean. Put this bearing right there, and I'm gonna get a bigger socket, and you gotta hammer it slowly so you don't mess it up, but go until it won't go any further. That means it hits the little lip, and then you can reinstall it and torque it to specs, which I will show you guys in a sec. Okay, now we got this flywheel. The bearing is in. You'll see it sticks out a little bit. That's because if you flip it, the bearing is already hitting the lip on the inside. You want to make sure the bearing is nice and loose. Not loose, but like able to spin. And you should be good. So, yeah, it's raining pretty hard. I think I might close the hood just so I can work on it a little. And I'll try to record as much as I can with this rain. Alright guys, so I'm soaking wet. So the torque specs to this is 19, you want to go in a star pattern, 19, 38, 50, I think it's 59, and then 79. I'll post a picture up real quick and show you the exact ones. Sorry, I'm trying not to record so much and finish this up since it's raining. But again, like I said, I recommend doing this because otherwise it'll spin. You stick this in, and as soon as it gets to one spot, it won't move. So let me get the clutch on real quick. Alright guys, when you put your clutch on, you want to remember to use your clutch alignment tool. Make sure everything's perfectly straight. I'm going to go through torque specs. I'm really tired, so I forgot them, so I'm going to put them up here on the screen again. And just remember, do all stars and go slow and be careful. I haven't talked to you guys in a while. Seems to stop raining, hopefully for a while. Okay, so got the clutch in. Transmission was kind of hard by myself. Did have my brother help me with the jack. So when you get it in, try to slide it in. There's alignment, like, man, I always forget what they're called. It's like a piece that's on the block that's supposed to slide into the transmission. Try to make those slide in. Put a bolt in just so it doesn't back out all the way. So when you have that, remember to tighten this bolt. There's one down there, and then the ones for the T-bracket. Should be 2 of them on the bracket, and then one that goes from the block to the transmission. And then you need to install your starter back again. I think that should be how you install your clutch. Oh, and your slave cylinder, you might have to bleed it again, depending on how it went and all that. When you install your starter, you want to reinstall your starter switch signal. And there should be another wire around here that I unplugged. This one right here, that goes to your starter, that's your power. After that, just read the instructions on your clutch to see how to break it in. Remember, don't go too hard on it for the first, I say, month. Just go easy on it. And then when the transmission's in, you just gotta put the axles. Pop the axles back in. Pop the half shaft with the other axle. Tighten up your upper and lower ball joints. Just make sure you put your cotter pin back in there. Make sure everything's tight. Remember, tighten up your fork. Oh, and the axle nut, recommend swapping them out for a new one. So do that too. I did that. And on the next video, I'm gonna start later. We're gonna do the oil pump. I already have it started, but I'm gonna teach you guys how to start it and take it off. While we're down there, if we have room, we're gonna do the water pump. It's gonna be hard to show you guys, but I'll explain it with the water pump out. We're gonna do the timing, valve cover gasket. We're gonna do the oil pan gasket. We're gonna do the exhaust gasket, the intake manifold gasket. Yeah, we got more things to come, guys.